let's talk about recreational ponds, because you mentioned that briefly before, but this is, well, I'll try and explain it for you. I've seen people do these where they make this what is essentially the size of a pool, and you can swim in it, but it's a pond. And you were saying before that when you're making them, what you're making is a pond that you can swim in, not a swimming pool that looks like a pond. But tell me about that, because that seems like, for me, like I couldn't imagine anything better to have in the backyard than your literal own like watering hole to go dip in at the end of the day. So is that really popular? I'm sure it's really expensive, so maybe only for people with a certain amount of budget. What's the process with that? What's the difference with that? Is it different? Is it all the same? Can you just put the liner at the bottom? Does that have to be concrete? Like, let's start exploring this world of recreational ponds.
Yeah, so recreation ponds are popular. They seem to go through little trends as well. For my business personally. Sometimes, I'll get heaps and heaps of recreation pond inquiries, and other times it's mostly aesthetic features, small fish ponds, waterfalls, and I won't get much inquiry at all about recreation ponds. But I think I've got 4 on the books for this year of recreation ponds, which including some really cool sort of ones with big long beach areas that are going to have sort of cantilever decks over the top of them and stuff. So looking forward to that. And again, in theory, it's the same as an ecosystem pond. But the difference is obviously when you start going deeper, you have to be really sure about your not just aesthetic rock work, about your structural rock work, making sure that you're back blocking, chalking, backfilling with pebbles, got a little bit of a grade backwards, all that sort of stuff to make sure that those rocks are stable. Obviously, you're going to have a hydrostatic drain in it, the same as we do with all of our ponds, but more important even on a recreation pond to have a hydrostatic drain that can push water out from underneath it if it does get water going underneath the liner, because obviously that water's going to want to go somewhere, so we're giving it an easier path to get out, usually via an ag drain that comes out lower than the top of the water level. And then when you talk filtration and stuff, we have a biofalls in a smaller pond. Once we start getting up to recreation-sized ponds and larger ponds, we switch to a wetland filtration system. So that's a custom-built filtration system that consists of a centipede and a snorkel, which are basically a well-designed pipe that slows the water velocity down. Then that goes up through aqua blocks, which are a structural void block, and again slow the water velocity down. And then they go up through different grades of pebbles and cobbles to grow beneficial bacteria in. And then once it gets to the top of that wetland, that's full of water plants, which helps polish the water and also become a perennial water garden. Now, as far as on the other side of it, the intake bay side of it, when we build smaller ponds, we'll have a skimmer system, which is like a mechanical filtration skimmer. When we start getting up to larger, well, even large ponds, and there is recreation pond kits and stuff like that have filters skimmer baskets on them. I personally don't use them. Anytime I go up to a recreation pond, I will do an intake bay, which is basically a little cove where all that water pulls into, and it has a pump vault down underneath it, and that's where that water draws across. So any leaf debris or anything like that goes into that little skim cove or a negative edge waterfall. And then sometimes some larger projects, I will put a skimmer inside that cove as well, just to catch leaf debris that you can pull out and stuff. But it's sort of a multi sort of systems approach then. Jet lines, we put jet lines in all our recreation ponds. We want water movement, so we'll run pipe work in through the back of the rock work with jet lines coming through it to move that body of water around and try to cool the water, keep the water cool for algae growth, and also just move the body of water around as well. So we want as much sort of stuff mixing that up so debris comes to the top, floats across to the intake bay, then it is pulled from the intake bay back up to the wetland filtration where that beneficial bacteria grows. So that's the basic overview of it anyway.
So you're filtering without, well, the water needs to be a certain quality, and you're not using chemicals to do that. You're mentioning bacteria. What else? Is there anything else? Is that all you need? Or like, how do you keep the water good, healthy for someone to potentially jump in when you're not throwing pool salt and chlorine in all the time.
Yeah, so it's non-chlorinated. So which most swimming bodies of water have never been chlorinated up until not that long ago. But basically, it's mimicking a creek system. So Ed Ballou, who helped develop the project, has studied a lot in limnology, I believe it is, which is the study of freshwater ecosystems. And basically what's happening is it's mimicking a stream system. So all that beneficial bacteria grows within the wetland filter. And that is what makes that water healthy, is that all that beneficial bacteria in there, that it's outcompeting the negative bacteria. So there is still risks with natural water, as with any sort of swimming in beaches and watering holes and waterfalls and everything else. But having that constant circulation, good aeration, and a larger beneficial bacteria zone. They did a lot of testing on Lake Gula, which was a project that I helped Patrick Handley with from Waterscapes Australia. And that was a 100 by 50 metre recreation lake, 5 metres deep. And that has a large amount of people swimming over the Woodford Folk Festival. And they did substantial water quality tests all the way through that. And the way that the wetland filtration system coped with that over the festival was just incredible. Water quality higher than what they deem for your natural swimming, and water quality higher than what they deem for most drinking water. So, so those wetland filtration systems do a fantastic job. Obviously, they're going to vary. There was times where it was hot and there was lots of bird life and lots of people, and those levels got up high. And then by that, next afternoon, by that next morning, all those levels were crystal clear again. So, that's part of that ecosystem. So it's beneficial bacteria.
How big was that? Say that again, how big that was.
Roughly, it was 100 metres by 50 metres by 5 metres deep.
Which is like 4 Olympic swimming pools? Something like that?
Pretty large.
That's enormous.
Yeah.
That's huge. And how many people are swimming in that? That's pretty crazy. How many people swimming in it?
Pat would know the answer to that better than I would. But I think over the Woodford Folk Festival weekend, they have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people go through that swimming daily and everything else. So, so the exact numbers Pat would know, or Woodford would know better than I do. I was just helping build it. I didn't do a lot of the follow-up sort of stuff on the festival and how many people went through and all that sort of stuff. But it was quite a large amount of people go to the festival yearly, they have done sort of consistent water quality tests on that for several years to sort of keep seeing how it's all establishing and maturing and everything else, which was really interesting from our perspective as well.
So do you need, or does it help to have certain types of plants or certain types of fish or frogs or anything else? Would that help with water quality? Or are there other ones that would hurt with water quality that bring in the negative bacteria?
Yeah, so there's obviously a lot of people go, I don't know if I want fish, but fish are sort of part of that natural ecosystem. As I said to you earlier, I may have been off camera, what we build are recreation ponds. So they're aesthetic, you've got a perennial water garden, you've got waterfalls, you've got this, you've got a habitat for fish and you've got drinking water for wildlife, and you've got availability for fire, water on hand and everything else. All these, fantastic other parts of it, other than just being able to jump in it and have a dip every now and again like a conventional pool. So for me, I think having fish is a whole part of that ecosystem. There's definitely different plants do different jobs, obviously. Some are better at filtering, some are better at oxygenating, some aesthetically look good, some are good at growing. You can grow Vietnamese mint in them and stuff like that as well. You can do a lot of, grow a lot of edible plants and herbs and stuff in them. And then there's different kinds of fish. Obviously, like most things, it's a natural ecosystem. So you are still going to get algal blooms, and it's going to take some time to mature. Generally, we say, 2 to 3 seasons, and it starts reaching full maturity, where you'll get a lot less algae blooms and a lot more sort of stable ecosystem, because that beneficial bacteria is really grown in.